Virginia voters could hand Democrats the most aggressive partisan gerrymander in recent history. A 10-to-1 congressional map in a purple state. 4 Republican seats erased, nearly 50% of Virginia voters reduced to just 1 voice in Congress. This isn't about fairness. It's a raw power play.
Virginia in 2020 held a constitutional referendum, amended our Constitution to have nonpartisan independent redistricting. 2/3 of Virginians said we want politics out, politicians out. And now we have Abigail Spanberger saying she's going to ignore the voice of Virginians, override them, and try to adopt the most gerrymandered map in America. Today we have what is assessed as the fairest map in America. I don't love it. It's 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans, but it's fair. And she wants to override it and turn it into the most gerrymandered map in America. It's wrong. Virginians should stand up and vote no.
Gerrymandering is when the party in power draws district lines like a crazy puzzle to guarantee that they win more seats than their actual vote share deserves. They pack the opposition into as few districts as possible and crack their voters across a bunch of others so they lose everywhere else. It's been done by both parties for decades, but what Virginia Democrats are cooking up right now is ridiculous. In Virginia, Democrats dominate the legislature and governorship after Glenn Youngkin left office, and now it's Democrat Abigail Spanberger in the governor's mansion. The Democrats passed a constitutional amendment, which voters are going to vote on this week. If they vote yes, they bypass the independent redistricting commission that they approved in 2020 and ram through brand new maps for 2026. But this isn't about fair maps. It's not about democracy. It's not about representing Virginians better. It's about the Democrats wanting to use Virginia as a weapon against the Trump administration. It's about rigging the system to resist Trump. Democratic Virginia Senator Tim Kaine just admitted the quiet part out loud.
We're giving Virginians a chance to vote, which Republican states have not done, about whether they want to have a congressional delegation that will stand up against Donald Trump's tyranny.
And Democrats have dumped money on this cause.
Listen, it's an uphill battle because they have poured $70 million into this. That's more than they spent on the governor's race in a very short period of time to try to fool, deceive, and trick Virginians.
Look at the old and new maps side by side. Look at how there's going to be 1 single remaining Republican district in far southwest Virginia, way off into the side, and look at how the northern Virginia suburbs are going to change. This is 10 safe Democratic seats and 1 lonely Republican district crammed full of every conservative voter they could find. And look at the ambition here. Virginia is a battleground state. Biden and Harris won it pretty narrowly. Youngkin showed that it can swing Republican. The current delegation of 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans is pretty proportional. But Democrats aren't satisfied with a genuinely fair fight. Their proposed map packs almost every conservative voter into that southwest Virginia area while stretching Democratic strongholds from northern Virginia like tentacles across the rural and suburban areas that are definitely not that blue. They crack Republican voters so thinly that Democrats win the other 10 seats by comfortable margin. This is not subtle. It's actually one of the most extreme gerrymanders attempted in the last 25 years, turning a 52-48 state into a 91-9 congressional advantage. But Virginians might be seeing through the scheme.
I find a very large no sentiment in Arlington. I would say that early voters tend to be more Democrats, but I've found an awful lot of people who just think that this is a very unfair gerrymander going on.
Obama, one of the kingmakers of the Democratic Party, is throwing all his weight on the effort, unsurprisingly, which just screams manipulation.
Hey, Virginia. Early voting is underway, and Virginians are turning out in record numbers to vote yes. By voting yes, you have a chance to do something important, not just for the Commonwealth, but for our entire country. By voting yes, you can push back against the Republicans trying to give themselves an unfair advantage in the midterms. By voting yes, you can take a temporary step to level the playing field.
But Republican counter-marketing has emphasized that this effort is blessed by the new Virginia governor, Abigail Spanberger, who, in my opinion, is a total political fraud. She assured Virginians she'd be moderate and common sense, and then a few months into office doubles down on the state's sanctuary city policies that make it hard to get illegal alien criminals out of the country. And she supports the gerrymander.
I was fooled by Abigail Spanberger. She asked a question. Why do they keep putting my names on these mailers? Because it's working against the Democrats. That's why they're putting the names on it. And in fact, a friend of mine said that their own polling shows that the most effective messages against Democrats in Virginia about this redistricting thing are when they are talking about her and putting her out there in her own words. So the other thing she did is she pulled this trick where she put out a press release saying, look at all these jobs I've created. And then she put out this press release and it was like, no, I think some high percentage, like 85% of those jobs were created under Glenn Youngkin. So she's trying to take credit for something she didn't even do.
It's not just about Virginia. These 11 seats could decide who controls the U.S. House of Representatives in 2026 and beyond. Democrats see a clear path here. They lock in overwhelming majorities, they counter any Republican gains elsewhere, and then they solidify their long-term power in Washington, D.C. And for all their talk and fear-mongering about Trump and the Republicans being an existential threat to democracy, they're willing to override the will of 66% of voters who demanded independent maps in 2020. Do they not see how they are ignoring the will of the people? Democrats are framing this, of course, as leveling the playing field against Republican moves in other states. Remember how Texas Democrats fled their state in protest of Governor Greg Abbott's redistricting plan that, yes, favored Republicans. And that fiasco got so heated that Texas Republicans issued arrest warrants for Democrats who left for Illinois and boycotted doing any legislation until the Republicans dropped the plan. And what the Republicans did there was transparently a political play. But the irony of the Democrats going to Illinois for their little vacation from legislation and their little tantrum is that Illinois is also heavily gerrymandered in favor of Democrats, just like California. But Democrats are taking all of this to another level in Virginia. They are openly pursuing near total dominance in a purple state, making Republican representation almost irrelevant. That's not restoring fairness. That's consolidating power. So anytime Democrats talk about making sure that voters' voices are heard and democracy and fairness, they are lying.